So I hope you're all okay. And have you started working on the assignment?
Yes,
Is it okay? Are you able to write something? Vous avez des difficultés? Anything that you want to you need guidance on? Ou ça c'est ok and vous allez avoir des good marks. You don't have any question pertaining to the assignment? Okay, so it seems like you don't. So we'll start with the class. Today we have two chapters to cover, Unit 8 and Unit 7 and Unit 8, two last chapters for this module. Um, you will not be examined on Unit 7, uh, which is all about the challenges of counseling in Mauritius. But however, for Unit 8, you may be examined on Unit 8. So today the class won't be that long. It would be a short session because we don't have much to elaborate on. However, if you have any question pertaining to the other topics that we've covered and pertaining to the assignment, then after the after we've covered the two unit, we can discuss about same. So we'll start with the first topic. Okay, so can you all see the screen?
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, challenges to counseling in Mauritius. The main critical issues that counselors and the profession itself, uh, the main critical issues related to these are that, firstly, there's no proper legal framework for the field. We don't have a specific list of criteria that someone has to meet to become a counselor or a psychologist. Malheureusement, like other professions come in construction where they have a board, they have a regulating body. In Mauritius, we don't have a regulating body for counseling. So anyone can claim to be a counselor. And this is one of the dangers of the field because counseling, it involves, you have a lot of challenges in counseling. And if you're not good as a counselor, you may harm your client. You may not be able to properly guide your client, which may end up in difficult situation or even dangerous situations for the client. So there was supposed to be a regulating body, and there I know that they've started working on it, but so far nothing has been implemented pertaining to the legal framework for counseling and psychologists in Mauritius. Counseling needs are not clearly identified, and seeking counseling is still regarded as taboo. When you try to advise someone to seek counseling, the first thing that they'll tell you is that "Mo ba fou mo," or "Mo ba folle mo." Being mad has unfortunately been associated with seeking help and counseling or seeing a psychologist. Okay, in this, counseling doesn't necessarily mean that when you're seeking counseling, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have certain mental disorder. Anyone can seek counseling. If you feel overwhelmed with the situation, you can go to a psychologist, you can go to a counselor because you want to get better. You want to be able to know how to deal with the situation. And these people, they are professional and they've been equipped with the necessary skills to guide you. So, counseling should not be viewed as a taboo. Going to a counselor or a psychologist should not be viewed as a taboo. But unfortunately, it's still viewed as a taboo in Mauritius. And another critical issue is that various professions use some counseling techniques to varying techniques. You have counseling in different profession. For example, you have counseling in education, you have counseling in construction, you have counseling in well at work, in business field, but they use different types of techniques. And sometimes someone in the business field, when they've counsel another client about disons the business etiquette or I don't know, profits, etc. They feel that because they've been able to counsel someone, so they can counsel anyone in any other field. But counseling someone in distress, counseling someone with a lot of social issues, personal issues, mental distress, it requires a different types of technique, a different types of skill. Just because you're a counselor in one profession doesn't mean that you'll be able to work as a counselor in any other profession. Mais malheureusement, here, counselors, they have a tendency of going from one field to the other field, thinking that they have the skills to be able to guide anyone in with any problem that they might be facing. So, like I've told you, there's no authority regulating the profession of counseling except for the Allied Health Professional Bill, which has been set up by a board of various fields. You can Google the Allied Health Professional Bill on what you will see that there is a small section for counseling and psychologists. However, it hasn't there isn't much information for these two fields. It's just that they've written what are the basic requirements to become a counselor and a psychologist. So, apart from some NGOs, an authoritative and independent body regulating the profession does not exist in Mauritius, unfortunately. Alors, so where to go from here and what are the future legal directions? So, counselors, like I've told you, they are still viewed with suspicion, and almost anyone can claim to be a counselor. The Allied Health Bill has has somehow helped in well in writing down the main requirements for to become a counselor, but it still hasn't covered all the basic requirements which is required to become a counselor. And in Mauritius, nowadays, to become a counselor, if you look at any advert for counselor or psychologist, they have focus on the following qualification, which is you need to have a minimum of, you need to have at least a bachelor degree in the human field, and 2 years specialization in counseling. uh, you need to have either a bachelor degree in human field or a degree in counseling. You have counseling, psychology, sociology, and or you may be asked to have a master's, uh, be it in counseling, psychology, or any other field related to uh, social work. So recently there was an advert for educational psychologists. I don't know if you've, it was PSC. There was an advert for educational psychologists where the main requirements were a degree in social work, be it social work, psychology, or sociology. And there was another requirement which was they have the person applying should have a certain amount of practical work, and there was also the requirement of a master's degree. So if you have the chance, you can go and google up the different adverts for counselor and psychologists, and you'll see that these are the minimum requirements to be eligible to apply for any job related to counseling and psychology. So, like all other fields, counseling, the field of counseling and psychology, it has evolved over the years, and the needs of people change all the time. So we need to keep the field the field needs to be a dynamic one where there has to be research practices done frequently to be able to come up with more skills and more research to help other people. So some practices like corporal punishment, which was widely accepted decades ago, now is not socially acceptable. Similarly, counseling needs to reinvent itself in the light of recent events. So what can we do then? The main thing in counseling and psychology is research. Research can help us identify the different needs, the changing needs of people, identify different ways to address these changes, and to help find a solution to these changes. So, how do we conduct research? Has anyone amongst you ever conducted a research work? Anyone? Dissertation counts as a research work. Anyone? No one has ever done a research work?
No.
Never? Okay. So, in this course, it will be required from you to conduct a research. So how should you go about to conduct a research? This will be helpful for you when you will be choosing your research topic in 2 years time. So the first thing that you should do when you will start with your research work is that you need to read about, if you've identified, you need to identify a topic. That is, let's just take the example that you want to do a research on use of internet and self-esteem. So you've identified your topic, which is does an increased use of internet affect self-esteem? So your topic is internet usage and self-esteem. So you need to read about research done on these two uh, topics, that is internet and self-esteem. You will find research paper on, you have access to EBSCO, you have access to Science Direct, you have access to Jitsu. You will see there's e-library on Blackboard, and you have all the information pertaining to these different website. If you can't, if you don't have access to it, then you can contact the university and ask for the username and the password. Usually, you have to focus on peer-reviewed journal article. These are papers which has been written by researchers, and they've done their research on different topics, and they've come up with a result about the impact of different factors on other factors. You have, if you've had, well, let's just start. You're doing your dissertation on internet usage and self-esteem. So you have to go and look for papers based on these two factors. You read those different papers and try to usually in research papers you have a section where well, a recommendation section where the author will tell you about what are the different factors which you could have used in this what are the different factors which you can use, sorry, to conduct another research, or what are the limitation of this research. And you have to see, if you are doing a research, you need to do a research to be able to bridge the gap that you have in the different research done on internet usage and self-esteem. Your research has to contribute to something. You shouldn't usually repeat the same thing that another person has done. So usually when you're conducting a research, it's to bring a contribution to that field. And you need to further read and see how you can, what are the different factors that you can include to bring your contribution. So once you've done with the research work, that is, you've read the paper and see where you can, what are the different factors which you can include in your work to contribute to existing research, then you design and implement a research plan. What is a research plan? A research plan, it's a plan where you note down what are the different factors which will be involved in your research, who will be the participants. Will it be people age 18 to 25? Would it be people in the mid-age, in middle age, or would it be all age people? So you have to clearly write your research plan and then get it approved by the university. And then once it's approved, you start the real work where you will have to identify which method you would use. There are three main methods which are usually used. It's qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method?
Yes. In
Okay,
sociology.
so tell me. Okay, very good. So what is qualitative method?
Interview.
When you're,
Well, interviewing
yes,
someone.
Data
yes,
received in words.
yes. In qualitative someone, the main thing that you do is that you interview people and then you gather data from what they've from what you've discussed. And in quantitative,
Data receiving numbers.
Statistics.
Exa-
Collecting.
exactly, yes. You use questionnaires, you give people questionnaire, they fill in your questionnaire, and then you use this data you input on a software which is called SPSS, and then you work with the numbers, interpret, you carry out different tests, you interpret the results of these different tests. And mixed method, it's both qualitative and quantitative. So you can do half interview and half questionnaire, and then you analyze the data and come up with your result. So you have to, after the research plan, you have to identify which method you think is more appropriate for this, for the research that you'll be doing. Once you've identified the method, the next step would be to collect information from the sample population. That is the targeted people that you've selected for your research work. So collect information. If it's qualitative, it's interview; quantitative, questionnaire; or mixed method, you can use a mixture of both method, which is either interview or questionnaire. Sorry. Once the data has been collected, it has to be analyzed, evaluated, and discussed. So usually in your dissertation, in a research work, you need to have an introduction, literature review, where you review the different literatures on the topic, and then you have a method section where you talk about the ways that you would be carrying out the research. That is the method that you'll be using, the participants. If you're using a questionnaire, what are the different scales that you would be using? That scales by scales, I mean, how would you be measuring, for example, internet usage? How would you be measuring self-esteem? And then after the method section, you have a result section where you discuss about your result. No, sorry, where you not discuss, where you elaborate on the result. You talk about well, you have to design tables to show that this number is has well, you've received this total number for internet usage, for self-esteem, etc. And then you have a discussion section where you discuss your result. That is, if you found that internet usage has a positive impact on no, let's just say an increase in internet usage has an impact on self-esteem. That is, the more internet you use, the lower self-esteem that you have. Then you will have to discuss on this result. That is, what does research say about this? Is your result supported by research, or is it something different that you've received? And how would you explain this difference in research? So all of this has to be in your discussion section. And at the end of your discussion section, you have a recommendation and conclusion part. Recommendation, where you recommend what future studies can focus on, what are the limitations of your research, and then in the conclusion, you just briefly summarize what your research has all been about. So this is usually the structure of a research paper, and it will be something that you'll be doing soon. And do make it a must before you choose any topic. To make the must, you go and read about the topic, know your topic well, and then you start your research. And one advice that I can give you is that if you're working in a certain department, and if you usually have access to a certain category of people in where you work, and you want to do your research based on what you do as a profession, sometimes it becomes difficult for you to be able to regroup your ideas to carry out the research. The advice that I would give you is to go and do something completely different, something that you'll be learning from, and something which is not related to your day to day life. And this will help you to better be organized and better, well, organize your ideas and even your work. Okay, so do you have any question pertaining to the challenges of counseling in Mauritius or how a research is conducted? Anyone? You don't have any question?
No.
Okay. So if you don't, I will go on the next topic. So our next topic is compiling the skill and practicing. So this is the last topic for basic counseling. So when you are conducting a counseling session, you are required to, as a counselor, you're required to have some basic and necessary skills. However, depending on the nature of the problem that the person has come the person has come to you, depending on the nature of their problem, you have to choose appropriate skills and strategies to use. And sometimes choosing the appropriate skill and strategy can be a real challenge. And usually as a counselor you have a certain framework. You may be a counselor who works mostly with children or someone who works with victims of traumatic events, or a counselor who works with people with children at school. So you have different frameworks, and it becomes, if you are more at ease to work with children, sometimes it becomes difficult for you to work with older adults. So, depending on the framework of the counselor and the repertoire of skill of the latter, sometimes it becomes difficult to choose the appropriate skills and strategies to use. And usually, as a counselor or a psychologist, it is very important for you to have a supervisor. Now, who is a supervisor? A supervisor is either a colleague or be it your head of section, your manager, or anyone who's above you, who would be here for you, who would be here to listen to you, and who would be here to guide you in the work that you're doing. Usually, as a counselor or a psychologist, you are required to undergo supervision because, like we've discussed throughout uh, the different topic that we've elaborated on, as counselors, sometimes it becomes difficult for us to listen to people's problem. It becomes difficult for you from the beginning of the day to the end of the day to listen to only problems and problems and problems, because at the end of the day you are a human being, and you even have your level of tolerance, your level of information that you can comment dire, store. And sometimes being a counselor for people who have undergone traumatic events, who've been victim of, let's just say, violence, be it domestic violence or any other kind of violence, it becomes difficult for you to listen to them going relating whatever has happened and trying to constantly show empathy. And even if you're working with people, well, criminals or rapists or let's just say serial killers as well, sometimes it becomes very difficult for you as a human being to take on board all this information and still be empathetic and fair to your client. So supervision is a way to help you to help you deal with these situations. And usually going for supervision, it's similar to going into a counseling where you will talk to your supervisor, you will share your concern, your anything which is bothering you to your supervisor, and he or she will be there to guide you so that you can feel better about yourself and be able to properly deal with any situation that you're in. So supervision is a basic requirement for counselor and psychologists. So what is supervision? Supervision means that a counselor or psychotherapist uses the services of another counselor or psychotherapist to review their work with clients, their professional development, and often their personal development as well. So, supervision is a requirement by the BACP, which is the British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy, and it is a requirement to ensure that all counselors in practice are keeping their skills up to date and that they work in a safe and ethical way. Supervision in counseling also forms part of the counselor's professional and personal development. So when you go into supervision, you may discuss about the cases that you've had during the week or during the day, but you have to ensure that you maintain confidentiality, that you shouldn't be giving any information about your client to your supervisor, and there shouldn't be any personal information that you should be giving about the client that you've had. And you have to always maintain confidentiality. So supervision exists for two reasons. First one is to protect your clients, and second one is to improve the ability of counselors to provide value to their clients. So how would you protect your client? For example, the last time in the last session we talked about the ethical issues. Uh, we had an exercise at the end of Unit 6, where we discussed about the ethical issues, receiving gifts from client, etc. So supervision is a way to help you make better decision about similar situations. If you are faced with such situation, you can go to your supervisor, you can talk to your supervisor and see how they can guide you and advise you. And it will protect your client, because if you go into supervision, you would be more at ease with yourself and you would be better be able to deal with your emotions, with your skills, and in a way it will benefit your client. And to improve the ability of counselors to provide value to their client, like I've told you, going to supervision, it will help you peaufiner the different skills that you have, and even deal with any emotional phase that you're going through. So, the importance of supervision. Supervision is an opportunity for you as counselor to reflect on your practices. That is, have I done the right thing by Mr. X or Mr. Z? Have I properly guided Mr. X or Mr. Z? Should I have done something differently? So it will help you reflect on the way that you've talked to anyone, the way that you've counseled any client. So supervision is also an opportunity to deliver better outcomes through exploration and discussing new ideas. So when you go into supervision, you would be talking to someone who knows about the profession, someone who knows what you might be going through, someone who knows the challenges which comes with counseling individual. So you will be better able to open up, to explore any issue that you might be facing, and to discuss about new ideas or new ways of counseling people. Supervision is also an opportunity to enhance problem solving skills. So, if your supervisor has a certain way of solving certain issues, he or she might share same with you, and you might implement same in your way of in your day-to-day life. And supervision can also help you improve clarity and objectivity in decision making. If you're unable to counsel someone and you're unable to make a decision pertaining to that counseling session, your supervisor, since he or she is a professional, they will be better able to help you make any decision which will benefit your client. Supervision also empowers, motivates, and increases work satisfaction. Knowing that you have someone to whom you can go to, someone who would not be judging you for your work, and someone who would be there to help you, to guide you, it is a motivation in itself. If you know that if we can take an example, if you're working in a company and you have someone who you know you can go to if ever there's any issue, someone who will help you out, someone who will guide you, then you will be more motivated to work because you know that even if you are in any problem, there will be someone to help you. It's not that you've been left alone and you've been left to deal with any situation that you may be facing, any difficulty, or and that it is expected from you to know how to handle your work and handle yourself. Knowing that there is someone there for you, it's enough to help you to do well, to give the best of yourself. And knowing that you can go back to that person for advice, you can go back to that person for guidance, it will help you to give the best of yourself. And unfortunately, in Mauritius, in the counseling field, it does not work like this. We don't, it is not, supervision is not a requirement. Supervision is a choice. If you want to go to your, sometimes going to your supervisor, it can cause more harm than good, in the sense that they might judge you and they might well even write a report on the way that you are working or things that they've told you. But ordinairement, supervision should not work. Well, it doesn't work this way. Supervision should be something that helps you, motivates you, and increase your work satisfaction. Mais malheureusement, in different fields, it doesn't work the way that it should have. And supervision, it's a very important part in Unit 8, and sometimes you are examined on the importance of supervision. So, question, if I tell you to elaborate on the importance of supervision in counseling, would you be able to elaborate on this? Do you have any question pertaining to supervision? Anyone? Okay, so if I give you a question on supervision, I expect you to have good marks on this and be able to elaborate on the importance of supervision in counseling. So, Page and Woskett suggested that supervision can be divided into 5 stages. The first one is establishing a contract. Just like for counseling session, you are asked to establish a contract with your client where you say there will be this number amount of session, um, the length of the session, confidentiality, breach of confidentiality, uh, the different factors involved in the contract. It will be the same for a counselor and a supervisor. They need to have a contract where they will agree on things that they would be negotiating on. They would agree on ground rules, boundaries, expectation, and the nature of their relationship. And then you have stage two, which is agreeing a focus. Agreeing a focus, it's mostly you agree on an issue that you would be elaborating on, and what would be the priority and the objective of the supervision. Making space, it's when your supervisor will help you get into the process of reflection, exploration, um, well, how you will be focusing on the issues that you've come for supervision for, uh, be able to reflect on it and get better insight. And bridge, usually it's making the link between supervision and practice. That is, you take what you've discussed in supervision, you take it into your practice with your client, and then see if it works or not. And in stage five, usually when you come again for supervision, then you'll discuss about how things that you've implemented in your counseling session, is it working? Is it not working? What are the things that you can do differently? How can you change certain skills? So it's mostly stage five. It's mostly reviewing and evaluating the different actions or planning that you've input in your counseling. So there are five stages to supervision. Stage one, establishing contract, agreeing on the focus. Stage two, stage three, making a space. Stage four, the bridge, and stage five, review and evaluation. You have information pertaining to this in your manual, but I will upload another document where you will be able to better understand the different stages. Please make it a must to go and read about these different stages, know about these different stages, and you should be able to explain about these different stages. So, do you have any question for this about supervision? Why should we go into supervision? The different stages? Any question? No question? Okay, so if you don't have any question, then we'll go on the next slides. So, skills on the go counselor toolbox. So, what are the skills which you, as a counselor, you need to have? So, attending behavior, like we've discussed, you have to be present, be it physically and mentally present in the counseling session. You have to, throughout the session, your body language has to show that you are attentive. You have to maintain eye contact, lean forward, uh, encourage your client to further open up. You have physical attending and psychological attending. You have to practice both. And questioning, it's you have to question your client to help your client further open up about any issues that they might be facing. Responding is when your client is talking about something, you try to respond and to help them again further open up and to show that you are listening to them. Noting and reflecting, it is used to bring out underlying feelings of the client. Like an example here, it's you feel disappointed because your mother didn't call you on your birthday. And this is enough to help your client to further elaborate on the disappointment towards their mother. And client observation, so you have to observe the body language of your client, their facial expression, and the body language in itself, it can convey a lot of information. So observation is also important. You have confrontation. Sometimes confrontation, it can be used when your client, there has been discrepancy in what your client has been telling you about. So you confront your client so that you, well, become aware of what is true and what isn't. And focusing, it enables the counselor to direct the client's conversation flow into certain areas. Sometimes you may have client going from A to B to A to Z, where they should have followed A, B, C, D. So you have to constantly bring the focus back to the counseling session and to the topic that you're discussing. And influencing, it may facilitate change in the way a client chooses to think or to act. And an example here is a young person has just started taking drugs, and as a counselor, you know that drugs, it is harmful to the client. So you can discuss about the possible long and short term consequences of drug usage. So these are the few, well, some basic skills that you need to have as a counselor, but there are a lot more skills that you need to have to be able to be a good counselor and to properly guide your client. However, as a counselor, a lot is expected from you. You are expected, when your client comes into counseling, they expect that you will solve their problem. They expect that the moment that they go out of the counseling session, they will be fine. Their problem would be gone. But they do not understand the fact that you are here to guide them and you're not here to solve their problem. You're here to guide them so that they can work on their problem, but they come in with a lot of expectation, and sometimes these expectation, it can be harmful for you as a counselor. So as a counselor, usually you are faced with a lot of stress, which can eventually result in burnout. So you work with people dealing with different types of issues. You have trauma, you have, well, some very petty issues, you have people with a lot of difficulties, you have different types of client coming in into counseling. And you, as a counselor, you have to be able to adapt yourself to deal with these different types of problem and these different people. And sometimes it becomes difficult for you to each time reinvent yourself to be able to help your client, to be able to guide your client. And as a human being, sometimes it becomes very tiring for you to constantly deal with such situation. And burnout is something which is very real in the profession. So, what is burnout? According to Barmore, well, Baldwin, Barmore, Superior, and Weaver, burnout is a job stress phenomenon and is also a form of mental distress that may be accompanied by physical health issues. The mental distress that accompanies burnout may include persistent exhaustion, both physical and psychological. So, one way of one well one usually supervision is a way to eradicate burnout. It's a way to help you deal sometimes with burnout, because again, when you have someone to whom you can talk to, someone who understands your situation, someone in the profession, he or she will be better able to understand whatever you're going through. But again, burnout is very much real. So, what is the difference between stress and burnout? Stress refers to a mental or emotional state, wherein a person encounters tension due to adverse conditions. On the contrary, burnout is a condition which results from prolonged exposure to stress, and it leads to the exhaustion of mental and emotional strength. Again, the difference between stress and burnout is that stress involves too much. That is too much pressure, that demands too much from you physically and mentally. However, people who stress, they can still imagine that if they can just get something done, something under control, they will feel better. For example, if you're very stressed about your work and you know that the moment you get your work done, you will be okay. So this is stress. However, burnout, on the other hand, is about not enough. Being burnout means feeling empty, mentally exhausted, devoid of motivation, and beyond caring. People experiencing burnout often do not see any hope of positive change in their situation. If excessive stress feels like you're drowning in responsibilities, burnout, on the other hand, is a sense of being all dried up. And while you're usually aware of being under a lot of stress, you don't always notice burnout when it happens. Stress, you would know that you will be able to say that I am very stressed about this situation. I am very stressed about this. I'm very stressed about that. But burnout, you would not be saying that I am going through burnout. When you are experiencing stress and burnout, it may seem similar, but you have to notice the small changes. That is, if you feel empty, if you feel very exhausted and do not derive any pleasure from anything that you're doing in life, then this is enough, as this is red signal where your body is telling you that okay, it's time for you now to rest. It's time for you now to take care of yourself, and it's time for you now to let go of everything that is stressing you. But it is easy to say, I have to stop. But sometimes the demand, the responsibility of the job, the different expectations from you, it will not help you to let go. So, questions that you need to ask yourself when you're feeling low and when you feel that you may be on the road to burnout. So, what are the questions that you should be asking yourself? So, are you on the road to burnout? You may be on the road to burnout if, firstly, caring about your work or home life seems like a total waste of energy. You don't have any time, or you don't have any comment dire, need to care about your work or your life, or your home life, your personal life. You're just going with the flow and see whatever happens, happens. You are exhausted all the time. You constantly say, are you fatigué aujourd'hui? Are you pas capable? Fatigué, fatigué, fatigué. The majority of your day is spent on tasks that you find either mind numbing, dull, or overwhelming. That is, you do not derive any pleasure from whatever you're doing. It's just that you're doing it because you have to do it. There's no motivation, there's nothing, no pleasure at all in trying to do something, in achieving something. Even if you've achieved something, it doesn't make you happy. And you feel like nothing you do makes a difference or is appreciated. Even if you've done a small thing which should have been appreciated, and you can't see the appreciation, and even you don't feel happy about yourself, then again, it's the red flag. It's your body telling you that c'est un peu trop maintenant. So the signs and symptoms of burnout, it has been divided into three different well, columns. You have the physical, the emotional, and the behavioral. So the physical signs and symptoms of burnout is that you feel tired, drained most of the time. You have frequent illness and lowered immunity. You have frequent headache, and there's a change in appetite where you either eat a lot or you do not eat at all. The emotional aspect is that you have a sense of failure and self doubt. You're constantly doubting whether it's good or not. And you have a feeling of helpless. You feel trapped, defeated, and there's a loss of motivation. You are not motivated to do anything. You're not even motivated to lift your pen and start writing. You feel detached, you feel alone in the world. You do not have a proper conversation with your family members or your colleagues at work. Vous êtes renfermé, and you do not feel like talking to anyone. You do not feel like sharing anything with anyone. You just focus on yourself and yourself. And you have an increasingly cynical and negative outlook. Someone is very happy, you won't even share the happiness. Someone is sad, you won't even share, go to them, talk to them. You will feel cynical, and nothing will matter to you. And there will be a decrease in the self of accomplishment. Even if you've accomplished something very great, you would not derive any pleasure, you would not feel satisfied and accomplished. And the behavioral aspect is that there will be you will withdraw from responsibilities, be it at home or at work. You will isolate yourself from others. You will procrastinating. You will take longer time to get things done. You would use food, drugs, or alcohol to cope and take out frustration on others. And you would either skip work or come in late or leave early. You won't even have an interest for something. So these are the different signs and symptoms. And if you are going through these, it is important for you to seek help. It is important for you to work on yourself. It is important to give yourself enough time to heal, which is very important. So, eradicating burnout. Dealing with burnout, like we've discussed, it is not easy at all. So, what can you do to deal with burnout? Firstly, it's you get support. You can talk to someone who would understand you. You reevaluate your goals and priorities. If you think that burnout is coming from all the stress that you are um, um, facing at work, then reevaluate your goal. Maybe work is not your priority. Something else can become your priority, be it family, your friends, or yourself. And you acknowledge your losses. If I haven't done this right, doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I can still do something else correctly. So, what is the role of technology in helping eradicate burnout? So, anyone amongst you, can you tell me uh, any situation where you've been stressed or anything where you've been sad, you feel depressed, and how technology has helped you? Or if it's not you, en général, how do you feel technology can help us dealing with burnout? Anyone?
Regarde un dessin animé.
Yes, I agree. Anything else?
Listening to music.
Yes, listening to music. Yes, it is usually, it's a therapy. There are some people who use music as a therapy where if they feel very low, they feel demotivated, with music, singing and dancing and listening to music, it's enough to boost your mood. Anything else?
Sports and yoga sessions.
Sports head?
Yoga sessions.
No, I'm telling about the role of technology. How does technology help?
There are also online sessions like for meditation.
Yes. So basically YouTube. And you even have people, well, you have people going on TikTok, uh, getting a video done, or just swiping on TikTok. On You can have social media. You have, like we've discussed, music. You can listen to music on YouTube. You have some meditation. You have a lot of things on YouTube. You can take your mobile phone, or even on your TV. You can watch a movie. It can help you to well to diminuer the stress and to start feeling good about yourself. And technology can be good. Me, it can even further comment dire, increase the burnout, in the sense that if you expose yourself too much on social media and have people judging you, this can even have a role on what you're feeling. It can have an impact on what you're feeling. Recently, I don't know if I guess you've all seen the video. There was a video about someone, a man cheating on his wife, supposedly cheating on his wife, and his wife did a video in the hospital, screaming and shouting and swearing at another person, and she posted this video on 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 social media. So maybe this was a way for that person to deal with the stress. It was a way for her to get everyone to know about everything that she's going through. If you've had the chance to look at the comments, you've had people either supporting her or people, well, judging the situation. So technology, it has a good side and a bad side, where you have to know how to uh, properly use technology for your own benefit. And there are things that needs to go online. There are things that can be posted, but there are things that shouldn't be posted. There are things that I've recently had I've been through a situation where someone has been having a conflict with their daughter, and the daughter and it's a mother and a daughter, and they are not on talking terms. So instead of the mother is she did not agree on certain things that her daughter has done. So instead of talking to her daughter, she went on Facebook, posted things about how children should treat their mother, etc., etc. The daughter replied, saying things about her mother as well. So instead of having a proper conversation where same could have been discussed within the family unit, or be it the mother and the daughter face to face, they could have discussed about whatever issue is going on between the two of them and resolve the issue. They went and post same on social media, where each and everyone felt that they can judge, comment, and say anything that they want to say, creating more division between these two people. So it is important to know that if you can talk to anyone in your surrounding, if you are having any issues with anyone in your surrounding, you can communicate, you can talk to them without having the world know about your problem. Sometimes when you post on, if you are already feeling stressed, you are already feeling, you are, comment dire, dealing with negative emotions pertaining to a certain situation, and you when you post same on social media and you have people judging you for it, it can cause more harm to your situation and to yourself. So sometimes when you're feeling low, when there are things that you know you can discuss with anyone, please discuss about it and not post same on social media and having people judge you for Maybe you're going through a very stressful and emotional phase, and these people do not know what you're going through. These people, they would be commenting and judging without knowing what you're going through. So it is important for you to go towards people who understand, go towards people who know you, towards people who can help you and guide you, and not towards people who can't, or those hiding behind their mobile or laptop or whatever and judging others. So, this is just one advice, and I hope somehow it may help you in certain situation. So, like we've discussed the causes of burnout in general. Now we'll discuss causes of burnout more specific, mostly related to counseling. So you have firstly emotional depletion and emotional fatigue. So emotional fatigue comes from working constantly with people who are in pain. If you work with people who are, for example, suicidal, who are grieving over the loss of a loved one, or who have been traumatized, severely traumatized, it does take a toll on you as a practitioner and as a human being. There is a term which has been put forward by Carl Jung. I'll just write it here. So it's psychic poisoning. It has been written by Carl Jung. So you can Google on this term. Usually, psychic poisoning. It has been introduced by Carl Jung to explain how a psychotherapist can be uh, comment dire, affected by a client's condition, can be en guillemets poisoned by the client's situation. So if you are uh, dealing with people going through trauma, through pain every day from, let's just say, 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening, you've been dealing with similar people with similar issues, that is trauma, pain, for 1 month full. At the end, you would be emotionally depleted, and you would be on guillemets poisoned by everything that you've been exposed to. So psychic poisoning is very much real in the profession, and emotional fatigue and depletion as well. So the other term is vicarious traumatization. The term has been mostly introduced the term has been introduced and mostly used after the 9/11 event, that is the Twin Tower event, where there were a lot of people were who went through trauma, and the cumulative effect of whatever has happened. All of this, when counselors and psychologists assisted these people, provided their services to these people, it was noticed, and research has been done on this, that these counselors and psychologists, they went through vicarious traumatization. That is, indirectly they were traumatized by whatever these people who went through the real who went through who were there at the event, or who've seen everything that has happened. Those people, they went through the trauma, and psychologists and counselors who help these people, they even were affected by the cumulative effect of the trauma. So usually when you go through these situations, as a counselor and psychologist, you are not able to give the best of yourself. So again, in this situation, supervision can be very helpful. And sometimes grandiosity and demonization by client can also has can also have a huge impact on you as a counselor. So sometimes you have client idolizing you as a therapist, as a counselor, and as a psychologist. But sometimes you have client coming in and they put you down, and this can force you to question yourself whether you've done something correct, whether you are dealing with the situation correctly. Is there something that you've done which you shouldn't have done? So it creates demonization, may creates doubt, which will again push yourself to question yourself. And then you have constant worry. If you're working again with people who have been through trauma, people who feel suicidal, so you will constantly worry about your client. If you have a client who comes into a counseling session and they tell you that they feel suicidal and they might do something at night, so you would eventually report the matter to either the police station or any concerned authority. But you, as a counsel, you would be constantly worried whether your client would follow on uh, the threat, the suicidal threat, and whether or not you should break confidentiality and inform authorities what would be the impact of breaking confidentiality. So you would be constantly worried about this, and the constant worry may lead to a lot of stress and eventually burnout. And then you have distraction, that is, as human being, you have your own problems. And sometimes dealing with other people's problem, you may be distracted from your own problem and your own body telling you that it's time to now to relax. So you are mostly focused on other people's problem, but not on yourself and what your body is telling you about. So distraction again, if you do not focus on yourself, you do not take time to look after yourself, it may eventually lead to burnout and helplessness and a sense of inefficiency. Like I've told you, as a counselor, you are here to guide someone, you are here to help the person come up with their own solution. But sometimes you may not be able to help someone. You cannot force an individual to do something. If the individual has come in for counseling and he or she wants to get better, he or she will make the effort. But if the person is not willing to work on themselves, they are not willing to make that effort to come out of any situation that they might be in, then you, as a counselor, you can't force them. And this sense of helplessness and inefficiency would eat you. It would help, it would force you question, maybe you should have done something differently, maybe you should have talked to that person differently, maybe you should have opened about something to help the person realize the importance of counseling and getting better. But again, you cannot force anyone, you cannot take any decision for someone. That person needs to know that if they've come into counseling, they need to make that effort. And sometimes the work of a counselor or a psychotherapist or a therapist, you do not get the result on the same day. Like for instance, if you have a surgeons, you have other people like let's just say gardeners. If they've planted a plant today, they can uh, they can be satisfied about themselves when they'll see that the plant has been well planted and it's beautiful, your garden is very beautiful, etc. As a psychotherapist, a counselor, or a psychologist, you rarely see immediate and profound results of your efforts that you've put in. You cannot, there won't be any tangible results, and usually the work is slower compared to other professionals. and it may take years or even months for you to see the impact of your work, of your intervention on a certain individual. And all of this, not being able to get the immediate satisfaction, not be able to see immediately that your client is better, it can take a toll on you as a practitioner and a human being. So the work, it's very interesting. Being a counselor, being a psychologist, being a therapist, it's a very interesting work. But it does come with a dark side. It does come with a lot of demand, be it on yourself as a counselor or as an individual, and it has a lot of negative, comment dire, negative things attached to it. But like any other job, it has a lot of challenges, and sometimes overcoming these challenges can be very fulfilling. So, as a counselor, what can you do not to fall in the trap which is called burnout? So, you need to practice personal restoration, and this can include therapy for yourself, supervision. You can exercise, properly sleep, and spend time with your loved ones. You can go for musical therapy. You can listen to music, you can do things that you love, and you enjoy your life in a way that is sustainable. And remember that even if you're a counselor, even if you are supposed to guide a person, you're supposed to be there for that person, even you need restoration. Even you need time for yourself. You shouldn't come, Venkat said, be a counselor. At some point, there is a cut of time where you need to be the person who you are. And if you feel overwhelmed with any situation, you feel that you're not being able to deal with a certain situation, you can consult and get peer support. Consult, be it your supervisor, or you can talk to any other expert or your colleagues. So rather than struggling on your own with any issues, you can uh, seek help from others. And like I've told you, supervision and having colleagues being there to support you, it is enough motivation to keep going. And what can be done also is you can grow as a person. Like I've told you, you are not just a therapist, you're not just a counselor or a psychologist there to help others. You are a person on your own. You have your own needs, your own wants and desires, which you need to cater for. And you have to make sure that you have enough time to follow things that to follow your hobbies, your passions, do things that you like, you love, and feel good about yourself. And it's not work, then that's it. And you also have to make time for your family and friends, because sometimes spending time with your family, be it your pet or your friends, it's enough as a motivation. It's enough to make you feel good about yourself. So these few tips, it does not necessarily mean that it's only for a counselor. It can be for anyone. So you should know that when you are not okay with yourself, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to feel happy all the time. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel demotivated, and it's okay not to feel well. But it is also okay to seek help. It is okay for you to focus on yourself instead of others. And it's okay to say that I cannot. I need time. Alors, if ever you're facing such situation, if ever you know anyone facing such situation, you can guide them. You can help them understand the importance of taking care of oneself. Because whatever you're going through, anything that you're going through, no one would know the extent of what you're going through apart from yourself. You would know how sad you're feeling. You would know how happy you are. Others won't. So it is important that you focus on yourself, you take time for yourself, and you grow as a person. If you are in the profession, if you are doing counseling, then if you are not okay with yourself, you don't feel good about yourself, you would not be able to help someone else. So personal restoration is very important. So do you have any question?
Et, Madame, une petite question.
Oui.
Et quand on peut faire une counseling session, et il y a des fois, on arrive
Oui.
qui pas trouve certaines solutions. Et il y
Oui.
a des fois, on pas connu que tout peut besoin arrêter. Et là, qu'il faut faire, ou
Oui.
refaire le cas pour une, comment dire, clinical thérapie, parce que counseling, pas tout
No,
branché.
usually when you do counseling, as a counselor, you are equipped with the necessary skills and clinical psychologist. Well, si vous pouvez trouver qu'il y a a certain mental disorder involved, sometimes you have patients who are psychiatric patients. Ça veut dire que they know mental disorders, they have un petit blocage. Let's put it this way. Then if you see as a counselor that you need to refer to another professional, then you can do it. But like I've told you, the effort has to come from the client. You cannot make the effort on behalf of the client. You are here to guide. You are here to make them understand what is wrong, and you're here to help them, to guide them to come up with a solution on their own. You are not here to provide ready-made solution. You are not, ça c'est bien important, you are not here to provide a solution to their problem. You are here to guide, to help them come up with their own solution. But if you see that there's any other element involved where the person, for example, if you have a psychiatric patient coming in for counseling, and and the person would not be able to understand whatever you're telling him about, he or she about. For example, if you're talking about guidance, about they have to put it an effort to come up with their own solution, and they are not being able to understand. And as a professional, you would know when someone with any psychiatric issue is coming into a counseling. Then you have to refer the case to another professional, being a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. Et des fois, you may have people who consume drugs who come in into counseling, and sometimes drugs, it messes with your brain functioning, and it may be difficult as a counselor for you to counsel these people. So you will have to refer to another professional. Okay? Did I answer to your question?
Oui, madame.
Okay. So any other question? Do you have, well, pertaining to any topics that we've covered, or this topic, or what we've just discussed? Vous n'avez pas de questions? Okay, so I'll assume that you know everything and that you've understood whatever we've discussed. So do you have any question pertaining to the assignment though? Assignment aussi, non, vous allez avoir 20 sur 20 là. Non, sorry, 30 sur 30.
No, madame.
But you don't have any questions, so it means that you should be, everything is okay, you've understood everything.
No, madame, it's all confusing, the question.
What is confusing? Vous voyez, vous m'avez pas demandé. What is confusing? How can I help you? Tell me, how can I help you?
Par exemple, Jenny que nous peut besoin causer le là. Parce que
Pardon?
met depression, met child abuse.
Depression?
Oui, on dit à monsieur là, il est very depressive, non? Il undergo
Yeah.
depression. Après, peut-être que ce malade connaît qu'il y a un child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
C'est devenu agressif.
Non, ce que moi, je faire, c'est focus on the different uh, defense mechanism. I've already given you the defense mechanism that you should be focusing on and its relation to child abuse. Ça veut dire, ce que moi, je peux expect de eux, c'est the trop de research qui fait les survivors of child abuse or violence in childhood, etc. And see whether research supports que si un jeune in passe par child abuse, est-ce qu'ils ont fait face à une situation que vous in denial, vous pas de cause, whatever they've been through in their childhood. Then when you are writing about childhood la, then you can say that it has been supported by research. Let's just say Zunga and research. Mr. Smith has said that denial is very much present among survivors, victims of child abuse. Là, s'admettre que oui, il y a quelque chose de normal, que la personne ne peut pas se passer ça, parce qu'il throughout, il deny qu'il est une victim of child abuse, mais after il peut come out, alors, it has been supported by research qui arrive à un certain moment, by victims of child abuse, se manifester sa emotion là en différents aspects de la vie. Ça peut être agressive, des choses comme ça. This is what I'm expecting from you. I will again show you. Let's go through this again. I will post this on let me see if I can post this here. Just give me 1 minute. I can't upload this here.
Madam,
Yeah.
do we have to also talk on the other defense mechanism?
No, you can briefly state the different mechanism, but you don't have to elaborate on this. Because en parlant de ça, I can give you up to, you can write up to 2000 mots, mais pas plus que 2000. Hein. C'est de 1500 à 2000, pas plus que 2000. Mais you do not have to elaborate on other defense mechanism. Just stick to the defense mechanism that we've talked about. Okay, I've shared the essay plan on Blackboard. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at the essay plan, you would see that I have asked you to. Can you see it on the screen?
Oui, madame.
Okay. So you have been asked to define the concept of defense mechanism. That is, what is defense mechanism? And talk about this in the introduction. You have to briefly explain what is defense mechanism. And then at the end of the introduction, you tell me what your essay will be focused on. And in your main body, you explain how, well, the concept of conflict. So when do we use defense mechanism? We use defense mechanism when there is a conflict between our id, ego, and superego. It's called intrapsychic conflict. So you briefly elaborate on this. So how does this conflict arises? You define ego, you define superego, you define the id, and you explain how conflict between these three, they lead to an intrapsychic conflict, which eventually lead to anxiety. And to reduce this anxiety, we make use of defense mechanism. Then you go back to the case study. You say that Joe is making use of defense mechanism to reduce the anxiety which comes from being a survivor, a victim of child abuse, a victim of abusive childhood. And then you talk about denial. You say that in this case, in the above case study, Joe has made use of denial because he never talks about this period of his life. So you elaborate a bit on what denial is all about, and then you look for research done on denial and child abuse and trauma. Do not focus on the uh, depression, etc. Focus on child abuse. That is how child abuse has contributed to the use of denial. Comment, quand Joe il fait face à child abuse, comment ça il faut aussi, comment dire, deny this period of his life? Par cause l'eau, ça, deny being a victim of child abuse. And then you look for research done on child abuse. It has been shown, research has proved that children, adults who have been through child abuse, they have a higher tendency of denying and not talk about this period of their life. Peut-être sa période-là pas existé. They have been comment dire, reduce the anxiety. Quand je pense au child abuse, it leads to an anxiety. To reduce this anxiety, alors they've decided to forget about this. Alors you elaborate on how research have shown how victims of child abuse, why they use denial. Lela, comment me dire, to support uh, your elaboration on denial and child abuse with the use of evidence from research. That is, Mr. XYZ have shown in their research that indeed survivors of child trauma, child abuse, they make use of denial to reduce the anxiety which comes with that period of their life. This is one way of how you should be supporting your argument with research-based evidence. Pareil pour repression. Why do they repress? Denial and repression, it goes hand in hand. So, CNO denial definitely will be some kind of repression. So, you look for the use of repression in victims of child trauma, child abuse. So they explique le repression, what is repression, and how does repression, comment il peut affecter Joe ici? In what way is he being repressed? In what way is he repressing certain period of his life? And then you talk on what research say about the use of repression in cases of child abuse and trauma. Pareil pour projection. Projection here, Joe act he is being verbally aggressive, but he accuse Lena of being verbally aggressive, or que Lena is not being verbally aggressive. Mais il peut faire ça comme ça, il can feel good about himself. He doesn't have to focus on the fact that he's being verbally aggressive. On the other hand, he's accusing someone else's being verbally aggressive, alors il peut feel good about himself. Il peut non pour rendre une réponse, mais lui qui fait, lui peut être verbally aggressive. Il peut juste dire, ben, toi, tu peux être verbally aggressive, mais rendre réponse là, toi. Alors, you explain about projection in this case study and explain how ban Benjamin qui fait face à violence domestique, peut faire face à ben different kind of abuse. Comment se servi projection Benjamin qui peut initiate aggression, Benjamin qui peut initiate domestic violence. Comment se faire face à projection? Ça veut dire pas moi qui entends, toi qui entends, à cause ça, me peut faire ça avec toi. This is what you should be talking about. You don't have to go on depression talk. Yes, we did say that he is experiencing depressive thoughts. May you were not asked to elaborate on depression. The main focus here is defense mechanism and the use of defense mechanism in victims of childhood trauma. Okay? Okay? Vous avez compris? Do you have any more questions? You can download this, I think. Pardon? You can download this on I think right now you can download this plan. And then if anyone else has have download this, you can share it with your friend. May please make it a must that you focus on what you've been asked and don't go off subject. Focus on this, and it would be you already have a plan here. Just go by the plan. Il n'y a pas plus facile que ça là. Just go by the plan, and what is more important is your research work. I need to see that you've done some research. And one thing, when you are writing, be professional about your writing. It has to be good English. And when you're writing, don't use don't. Use do not or doesn't. No. It's don't use don't and doesn't. Use do not or does not. Be professional about your writing, and you haven't been asked to about your opinion, so avoid giving an opinion, and write mostly on what you've been asked to write. Do you have any more questions? Any more question?
Yes,
You
Madam.
understand? Oui.
You were saying for us to download this piece of document, but have you already uploaded it on the Blackboard?
I cannot upload this on the platform because I shouldn't be giving you this.
Okay, I understand.
You are supposed to you are at a level where you should be able to comment dire, work on an
yes, to
assignment.
read without this.
I shouldn't. Là, ce que j'ai fait, j'ai déjà tout marché, je vous ai donné.
Okay, thank you.
You just have to swallow it.
Okay, thank you very much.
But there's an option I can see on Blackboard here on the screen. There's
Yeah,
an
right
option where
now
you
I've
can
been able to download it, but I was just thinking if you are going to put it there also.
No, I cannot.
Okay, I've already downloaded
If
it.
I could have, I would have, but I can't.
Okay, thank you.
I want you guys to have good marks for your assignment, because your assignment, it has a huge weightage in your final marks. It's 30 marks. If you score at least 25, you just need 15 marks more in the exams to succeed in the module. But I'm not asking you to viser only the minimum marks. I'm expecting you to get A's at least. So I want you to work well on the exam, because it has a huge impact on your final marks. Alors, if you've been able to download this and your friends haven't, please share it with your friends. Unfortunately, I won't be able to post this on the platform. And we have a class. Our next class is in November. It is a revision class. So I expect you to come with questions. I expect you to come with problems that you're having with your revision. And I mostly expect you to have already started with your revision. Because again, it's a revision class. I would not be conducting the class. I would give you a few quiz where you can you would know where you're situated with your revision. Me, I would not be doing the class like talking and talking and talking for 2 hours. So please come up with questions. Please come up with things that we can discuss, and it would be helpful for yourself for the exams. Okay, so do you have any more questions? Okay, so if you don't have any question, I will end the session. And I wish you all the best for your assignment. Just one thing, just to confirm, are you uploading the assignment on Blackboard or would you be sending me by mail?
On Blackboard.
Pardon?
On Blackboard itself.
On Blackboard, okay. Good then. But I would just request you guys to send me by mail too, because in case there's anything with Blackboard, you won't be penalized then. There is my email address on the assignment sheet. So send me a copy on my mail. If ever there's anything, at least I have a copy. Okay? So
Okay.
please share this information with your friends and ask them to send a copy on my email address, because I think it's the first time that you guys are uploading on Blackboard, right? So there might be certain issues. So please send me a copy on my mail. And also, if you have any problem pertaining to submission, if you've encountered a situation where you are unable to submit, please let me know well before. It may happen that there's a situation where you're unable to submit on that day. I can be lenient. Let me know. If you do not inform me, then unfortunately you would be penalized. So let me know. Okay, if there's anything, do not hesitate. You can contact me. You can send me an email and let me know if there's something where I can help you with. Okay, so that's it for today. If you do not have any question, and our next session, like I've told you, it's a revision class. Please come forward with questions where we can discuss about anything that you haven't understood. Alors, bon weekend and good luck for your next class. You have class on the 15th with Sharon, so please don't forget about your class.
Merci,
Allez,
madame.
bye-bye, bon week-end
Bon week-end.
et bon courage.
Merci, madame.
Merci, madame.
Madame,
Yes.
en fait, le deadline pour le assignment, j'ai vu que c'est à 12 p.m. le 15 octobre, 12 p.m. Donc, ce sera midi.
Minuit.
Minuit parce que c'est
Well, no, it's PM.
12.
It's PM.
It's p.m. 12 p.m.
Okay, I'll change it. Je vais le mettre à 11h55 p.m.
Yes. Merci.
Okay, then vous aurez amplement de temps pour le faire. Okay, so anything else? Ok.
Non, ça va, merci.
Non, madame.
Allez, bye bye. Et good luck for your next class et bon week-end.
Bon week-end, madame.
Thank you.